Ofsted have been seen as toxic and schools should self-evaluate, says an inquiry. I'm going to read into this more from the BBC, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from the BBC with the headline that Ofsted's seen as toxic and schools should self-evaluate, says the inquiry. Ofsted inspectors should not be in the classrooms and the whole system needs a big change, the inquiry has said. Now, I'm going to just talk a little bit about, so I obviously know some relatives and people who are teachers and work in the profession, and they tell me that, like, before I even read the information that's going to be put in front of me, it gives their impression of what they tell me is that Ofsted are extremely strict and very harsh and maybe a bit over the top, and their justification from Ofsted's side of things is that, well, we got to make sure that you are giving the absolute best possible education ever, and we all want children to have the best possible education ever. That doesn't mean that teachers should be slammed or be given a harsh treatment, or that the tests should be so vigorous. Do they need to be so vigorous? It's a question that I think you need to be asked. Because remember that teachers are just as much human beings as the children. Did you know that? For me, there's a humanity to all of this when it comes to the way Ofsted deal with it, and they don't deal with it with that at all. I think there was a story, if you not recall, that a teacher took their own life because of inadequacy from Ofsted, and it was absolutely one of the most heart-wrenching stories, and it's probably going to get brought up in the article. And it was just brutal because of the way Ofsted were handling things. And I'm interested to hear what this inquiry exactly says about Ofsted, because I do believe that changes do need to be made. But while we do want the kids to have the best education possible, it doesn't mean that schools and teachers should be thrown under a bus either. So Ofsted's inspectors should not be in the classrooms and the whole system needs to change, an inquiry has said. The Beyond Ofsted inquiry, chaired by the former school minister Lord Jim Knights and funded by the National Education Union, called for a transformational alteration to school inspections. The report recommends that schools should instead be responsible for their own improvement plans. Ofsted said inspections are needed to ensure a high quality education. Children only get one chance at education, and inspections help make sure that the education standards are high for all children, a spokesperson said. But Lord Knight's inquiry said Ofsted was now seen as toxic and not fit for purpose and was in need of major reform. That reform should include an end to the single word judgments like outstanding or inadequate, which the inquiry said were too simplistic to describe a whole school. Yeah, I mean, just being marked as single words like that, when just being marked on the wall as inadequate or outstanding and no fine little details there. I mean, obviously if you open it up and look at that, you'll see the imprint, but most people, when they see something, they see a headline. If a school gets marked as inadequate, and people will just assume, oh, well, what's this school is terrible, or it can't be up to that. Well, then you don't even look at the full details of why it was made inadequate, because a lot of people don't go out of their way to look at the fine details of things. So I agree that single word judgment should not be made, because people always look at the single wording rather than looking at the bigger picture of why the school was either outstanding or inadequate or whatever title it would be. There should be at least a title, at least of what what it should be. That's my recommendation. But that was one of the key recommendations of another report on school improvements released on Monday by the Institute of Public Policy Research, which calls for narrative style judgments instead. The suicide of head teacher Ruth Perry earlier this year highlighted how the pressures inspectors can put on schools and led to the debate about how Ofsted operates. Yeah, this was a horrible story for Ruth Perry. That was absolutely just. I just hope. I generally mean this. I honestly can't remember, but the people who did that Ofsted, they should their judgment, their humanity should be put into question. Ofsted, the Office for Standards in Education, Children's Services and Skills, inspects and reports on anywhere that provides education for younger people in England, including schools, nurseries and childminders. The inquiry recommends stopping Ofsted from having a direct contact with schools. Instead, schools should draw up its own improvement plans to be accountable to parents and the wider local community, the inquiry says. That would leave Ofsted to look at how well schools or groups of schools are managed. The Department of Education spokesperson said the current system was important for maintaining high school standards, with 89% now rated good or outstanding. Ofsted had a crucial role in reassuring parents that pupils are receiving a high quality education and being kept safe, they added. But Lord Knight told the BBC Breakfast on Monday it creates a culture of fear in our schools, and if anybody thinks that fear is the basis of sustained improvement rather than support, I think they've got it completely wrong. Yeah, putting installation of fear on teachers when they're supposed to be positive and happy and, you know, giving encouragement and enthusiasm towards their kids. How can they put that on if they're if they're constantly worried about Ofsted on their goddamn shoulders? Humanity, mental side of things. It all comes to it. His inquiry said schools should carry their own self-evaluation by working with an external improvement partner, an experienced school leader, including several heads from the school's trust or local authorities, to produce a performance review. They don't need, and they have enough ample pressure on them as it is, to be fair. So maybe taking Ofsted out of the schools is maybe a good thing. But a part of me feels like that means they don't have the full oversight of what's happening in the school, though. That's the other sort of caveat to it, though. So it is tough. I'm not sure. Maybe it should. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe you guys can sway me in the comments for that one. Safeguarding the schools should also be looked at in separate yearly checks, overseen by a new national body, inquiry says. So it thinks it should completely abolish Ofsted and have something new. Carried out by academics from the London University College, the inquiry considers a range of options from reform based on surveys, focus groups, and international comparisons and research material. In its report, Lord Knight said Ofsted had become under-resourced for the high-stakes jobs expected of it. Inspections have gone from week-long dives by expert teams to snapshot judgments by fewer than a handful of inspectors, he said. It shouldn't be just based on an inspection. It should be based on the period. It should be based on a period from the last time that inspection happened to your next one. It should be based on that rather than. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't visit the school, but I think there should be like a little performance or questionnaire or something every week or something to say what's been done here, like a report of some sort, or like a report card of some sort that should be sent out to them every week or every 2 weeks or something until the next report, so that they have an assessment of what's been happening in the school from the time that they've had the last inspection to their new one. Something like that, maybe. The report says routine inspections currently carried out by Ofsted should be paused while the inquiry recommendations are put in place. A spokesperson for Ofsted said 9 out of 10 schools says inspections help them improve. We always want inspections to be a constructive experience for school staff, they said. Our inspectors are all former or current school leaders and well understand the nature and pressures of the work. Yes, you do, but it still doesn't change the fact that, you do have to put a bit of humanity into it too. I mean, that's the thing that kind of, I just think of what happened to Ruth Perry should never have happened. And she was someone who cared passionately about teaching. And just like many, many teachers now, they care passionately about teaching. And they love their job, but at the same time, They've got enough on their shoulders as it is. They've got a tremendous amount of weight on their shoulders, and it's brutal for them. It's absolutely brutal. Especially here in England. I can't speak for Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland, so maybe if any of you guys are from those nations, you can let me know what you think of your school systems in the comment section down below, or if you're from abroad, let me know how you think your schools are running and that. I'm curious to have your thoughts and engage in the conversation with this, because I think this is more in particular for England more than anything, because state schools, there's just far too many issues with them right now. We have an issue obviously with regards to school buildings with reinforced autoclad concrete, RAAC. So we have parts of schools and buildings that are either closed or closed off, or schools shut completely because of them. So it's an absolute headache for teachers. The amount of work that comes into the amount of pressure that comes from the workload that teachers already have to carry as it is. There's been a severe cut in substitute teachers, assistant teachers that normally are in classes as well, and they play a vital role in helping the teacher as well as helping the kids there. One-to-one engagement is so important between a teacher and a child. It's so important. That should not be taken away. And I think classrooms are getting way too big. The numbers I think are getting way too big in this. I think it's like right by about 30 or something, maybe even more. Correct me if I'm wrong. But even when I was in school, it was about maybe 15, something like that. I think 15 to 15 possibly, I think it was. Which is quite a small number if you think about it. Because I do think that engagement is really, really important. The one-to-one interactions really, really do matter. And it's a lot of pressure for a teacher to do the teaching. And I do think there needs to be fundamental changes in the way that they are inspected, the way that they are spoken to, the way that, if not Ofsted in a new body, the way that the conversations are made. They need to be, yes, of course they have a job to do to make sure that schools reach an adequate performance level. Yes, we understand that. That's the same with any job, any aspect, whatever you're doing, whatever, like if you have your own boss or whatever job you're going to have that. But there needs to be a human aspect to it. And based on this and what people who have worked that I know who have worked in it, it's inadequate. It's inadequate. But what do you guys think? Like I said there before, guys, let me know in the comment section down below. Tell me about the schools in your areas, perhaps the schools abroad that you guys have in places. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on how you think schools are operating into your standards. And what do you think here? Do you think Ofsted should go? Should a new system come up? Maybe Ofsted are right in their ways. Maybe you guys have a different of views, and maybe you think what happened here with Ruth Perry was a one-off. Let me know honestly what you guys think down in the comments below. Let's have a conversation about this. Hit the like button, would be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media, and hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do by buying me a coffee. The link's down below, or joining my Patreon for exclusive content. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.